What's going on, everyone? My Perspective, episode 3, and today I'm going to tell you why I chose the FiLMiC Pro app to shoot all my video. But just before I get into that, I want to let you know that I am changing things up a little bit. From now on, the episode's orders are going to look like this. We're going to start with behind the scenes. Then we're going to move to some commentary on last episode before finishing off with the teaser. However, today I'm actually going to be skipping out on the commentary, and that's not because the episode didn't do good. It did awesome, over 200 views just this weekend, and I really appreciate that. It's just that it didn't create a lot of commentary, and for that reason I don't have much more to add to the story at this time. Now that doesn't mean I'm never going to be doing any commentary. I'm just going to be picking and choosing a little bit more on the episodes that maybe you guys have more of a conversation in the comments section, or the ones that I feel like I want to add a little bit more. Maybe it's something that the subject I've interviewed has had to say since that time, or something that I just want to add to maybe one of the bigger questions, maybe my own opinion, maybe my own perspective on things. Now onto the behind the scenes for this episode. Now, as some of you may have noticed on certain pictures that I've dropped on my Instagram or different B-roll from episodes, I shoot all my videos with iPhones. Now, smartphone videography was not just a cheaper option for me, but after doing a lot of research, I found out that it was just a better one overall, and that's thanks to FiLMiC Pro.
Okay, so here is the FiLMiC Pro, and you notice it has a very attractive interface. You should immediately notice the sound bars on the right. Immediately to your left, you have your record button, this playback button, and settings, which we will get into more shortly. And then you have an analytics bar. And this you can see your battery, your storage space, time shooting, and your specs. Let's move our attention to this very smooth and dragging exposure control. So you can see it kind of changing the exposure as I drag it around here. So it's used for all things like shutter speed and ISO, but right on the screen it's basically used for white balancing.
Brief interjection for a second. Today I'm not doing a lesson on all the aspects of what it takes to do videography and filmmaking. I just wanted to do a quick show and tell for FiLMiC Pro and why I love the magic that this app provides me.
Next you'll see this square, and you can move this to change the focus. So there's the focus on the bicycle playing cards in the background, and then bringing it back to the 2019 NBA champion Toronto Raptors hat in the foreground. Now you can also lock these, so I can lock it, and what will happen if I lock that is it brings up this bar on the right here. Here I can focus on my zoom control, so I can zoom in a little bit, or I can go to the focus, and here I've already done some presets, so I can focus on the playing cards, and I can focus on the hat. And that's a cool little feature too. It'll help you for filming if you already know where you want to make those dramatic focus changes. You can preset those. Now there's another bar on the right, and in order to do that, you hold the exposure. Now, you don't always have to hold them. You can also drag. I'll drag from the left side here. So basically here I can change my shutter speed, and you can see it's right here is 1 out of 50. So if you just kind of pull, you can go to 1 out of 1200. That's way too much. 1 out of 300, 1 out of 50. And then we can lock it here. And basically, so that's good for taking in more or less light to catch faster moving objects without blur. Again, so no big lessons I'm going into today, but it's important for if I'm shooting like a meaning of life episode for a basketball player, and then I have to catch B-roll of him running around. This way I can ensure the quality will remain the same as when it was in the interview. Then you can adjust your ISO, so that's the number 111 there. And what you want to do here is just kind of move it up and down, and that should, you can see it lighten and darken. We want to go a little bit lower here. So this is for a background. I like to bring it down, keep the light coming in a little bit lower. So it darkens the background, which exposes me in the foreground a bit more. Now, that doesn't fix everything. You still have to do some balancing act to limit background noise, but it adjusts everything to exactly how you want. It's a lot better than the native camera in that way. So I'm sure you're also wondering what the 3 buttons on the bottom left do. And the one in the middle, well, that one opens up both sliders. This far right button, that's going to further help you with the exposure and lighting. So you have your false colors here, or your zebra stripes, and a couple of others here that you can look at. And that's just going to help you know where your camera is taking in too much light. And while you're doing that, you can help by tapping the bottom, and that's where a histogram will pop up to further kind of understand where your colors are at. You got a couple of different options there as well. Now, admittedly, I don't use this much, and that's just because, I haven't found a need for it for myself. Maybe that's because I'm not shooting big movies to this point, but it is nice to have it as an option. Just like this other button on the far left here, this 3 colors, the red, green, and blue. You can open that up, and what this does here, it can kind of help you control your temperature. You can auto do it over here. You can kind of just drag the bars on this side. And at the bottom, you can see that they have different presets for different lightings. If you're outside or if it's cloudy, you can set one to A or B, or you can just auto white balance. And that's going to look nice, just like the one we set up before all this. And then you can go to the bottom, and in the bottom you can adjust your reds, your greens, and your blues. You can adjust your saturation or vibrance. And this helps a lot if you want to do like posting right from your phone instead of having to edit all the color in post, which I do like doing a little bit more, so I don't use this too much at this time, but it's a nice option. Then you've got right here, you can do the same with your whites here, your grays, your midtones. You got your shadow adjustments and your highlights. And so this one I've been actually shooting in log V2. You can see it log V2. So no, this is the natural one right here. This is what the natural camera is taking in, and you can change that a little bit. Now what you see here in log V2 and flat, I really like shooting this. And that's because it basically flattens the highlights and lowlights, making it easier to shoot in tricky lighting situations. Makes it extremely helpful for color correction in post. So if you want to give your video a cinematic feel in any way, it's definitely recommended that you shoot in log or flat. Now, I understand this is all cool, but it might be a little much for you. So you're like, why would I get this if I don't want to go into all that extra videography stuff? Well, how about I sell you additionally with these easy to understand settings tab. I think it's easier than pretty much every camera I've ever touched, honestly. So we can go into the resolution here. We can change it from 4K, which we were shooting in, to HD 1080p. And you can change a couple other settings there. And even cool right here, let's go back to 4K so it looks like it's kind of what we're looking for. You can change the size of your image as well. So you can do 1:1, again, better for Instagram videos, or you can maybe give it a nice cinematic look. If we kind of pull out here, nice cinematic look here. This looks like the hat is about to do something really dangerous to the bicycle cards in the back. So we're going to go back into settings. You can change your frame rate as well, so 24 frames per second. You can go up to 60 frames per second, and then if you're shooting in 1080, you can do 120 frames per second, which I think is a little bit too much for me, but it could work for you. Then we can go into your audio, and in audio you can choose different mics. You can choose the mic from the bottom, front, or if you have a mic plugged in, it'll pick that up as well. And some automatic gain control and voice processing at the bottom, and those help you just with the clarity of the sound. We can continue through here. I'm not going to show everything, but you can do different settings in your device. Go to presets. Got a couple presets here that I was testing out before this. And you can turn on and off your guide. You can do different cameras. But one really, really cool thing before I move on is if you click on this hardware, all right, it has this DJI Osmo on. And that's because I have a DJI Osmo. So I can actually use my DJI Osmo, and it will adapt with this app. So I can use this app while it is on the Osmos, which is really cool. Really, really big tool for me. So you may ask why I don't use the DJI Osmo camera, which has a lot of good features on its own. Some people will even say like it looks better naturally. So I'm going to open up the DJI app here just to show you exactly why. If I go to device, it won't connect because my Osmo isn't on. So that is another big plus for why FiLMiC will always be ready to go.
So overall, FiLMiC Pro has been an incredibly handy tool that has saved me a lot of money. I mean, you could look at it as a price tag, but for people who already have phone and just kind of want to start dabbling into videography, that is just a slice of the price that you'd have to pay for all of the same features on a standalone camera. So I'd say FiLMiC Pro has been completely worth it for me as I start my videography journey. Okay, so like I said, this week we are skipping over the commentary and we're going straight into the preview. And this week's episode is number 2 for Bigger Question. And we are asking, given the opportunity, would you live forever? So it's a fun one with a lot of unique answers. So make sure you subscribe. And this Thursday at 4 p.m., make sure you check it out and leave a comment. Leave a comment on that video. Tell me, would you live forever? I would love to strike up that discussion with you. To the teaser.
Immortality is something that has captured our imagination for as long as we have lived. We have all heard stories on the topic, and there are many different forms. What does immortality look like? Is it infinite resurrection? A reset when you die? Is it your spirit or soul moving to another plane of existence? Or the ever sought after elixir of life that will keep you young and healthy forever?
I think if humans were supposed to live forever, we would.
Would I end up lying there still, staring at the sky, wondering when I'm finally gonna go?
I believe like 100 years is too short.
I believe that my life has a plan, and I believe I want to live that to the fullest.
If I'm the only one that lives forever, I'm gonna be sad all the time.
In today's Bigger Question, we don't sweat the details. Whatever it looks like to you, given the opportunity, would you live forever?